And now, Fairfax Breakfast Club with your host, Basile Lemba.
Hello, my name is Basile Lemba. Welcome to the Fairfax Breakfast Club. This is a program in which we bring you practical networking concepts and other valuable information you can use to truly expand your business. We always start with a quote, and today's quote is a quote in alignment with one of the basic principles in networking, which is consistency is the key is consistency. And the quote we have for you today is from a former president of the United States named Calvin Coolidge. And it goes like this: nothing in this world can take the place of persistence. Talent will not. Nothing is more common than unsuccessful people with talent. Genius will not. Unrewarded genius is almost a proverb. Education will not. The world is full of educated derelicts. Persistence and determination alone are omnipotent, meaning powerful. The slogan, "Press on," has solved and always will solve the problems of the human race. Calvin Coolidge, 30th President of the United States. And with us today, we have not only a persistent, but also a very enthusiastic person. And he is Steve Gurney, who happened to be the publisher and founder of the Guide to Retirement Living sourcebook. Hello, Steve.
Hello. Thanks for having me on the show.
My pleasure. How are you?
Great.
Excellent. Now, tell us a bit about you and your organization.
Well, I founded a publication and a website called Guide to Retirement Living Sourcebook. And I started this back in 1990. I was pretty much fresh out of college, and I'd seen my family experience the challenges of elder care firsthand with my grandfather moving into a nursing home. One of the things that I saw was that there wasn't a comprehensive resource out there for individuals like me and my family to objectively make a decision on what nursing home, assisted living, home care agency, what is elder law and geriatric care management. And so I put together this publication, not thinking it would go very far, but here I am 21 years later still doing it.
Very good. Excellent. And let me ask you this: what is the biggest challenge you've had with it?
Probably the biggest challenge that I've had is sort of relates to your quote, is that I agree, is that persistence and determination is one of the most important things in business. And no matter how motivated and focused you are, there's those days that you just wake up in the morning and as a small business person, you just say, what am I doing? You know, it'd be a lot easier for me to go out there and get a job. And it's pushing through those tough, challenging times that can be very challenging is what is difficult. But when you get out the other side, it's just so rewarding. And I never regretted any of getting through any of those challenges. That's where I learned the most, and I felt the best about the business that I was putting together.
Very good, very good. And what will be your biggest success in doing that? And I believe that you host a monthly event as well to bring people together.
Yeah, I wanted to talk a little bit about the networking meetings that we've put together and how networking plays in this. But I would say, over the years, the biggest success that I've really seen is the creative ideas and the change that those have impacted on my clients, professionals serving the seniors, but the readers of our publication in general, is getting them to think outside the box. Gotcha. Is what I really count as my biggest success. I guess I could sort of move into networking because you threw out the concept of how networking plays in our business, and it's a fun little story that I like to share is that back 21 years ago, I was all by myself.
Mm-hmm.
I was working out of my basement. I was in my early 20s, and I was in the field of aging.
Mm-hmm.
It was pretty challenging. And I didn't have a lot of money. And so it was difficult for me to go out and take all of my clients out to lunch and do that typical business schmooze back in the 90s.
Gotcha.
And so what occurred to me is that there wasn't a focused place for professionals that were working with seniors and their families to meet on a regular basis.
Got it.
And so what I set out, I first started by just getting a really good speaker together, and I invited a bunch of the professionals on my mailing list to come and hear this speaker talk, and I gave time for networking. We had a retirement community host. It was a breakfast meeting, and we heard a great speaker. And at the end of that presentation, I asked the audience, I said, would you like to do this on a more regular basis? And every hand in the room was raised. And so I'd probably say for about 18 years, we've been running the Pro-Aging Network meetings. Every other month, we try to have an interesting, cutting-edge topic on senior living. And it's hosted at a retirement community. And so the professionals, the reason they like to attend is, A, the networking, but they get a free lunch, and they get to see a community. I usually try to do these at a community that's either doing a renovation or a brand new community. And so you can sort of get a lot of your opportunities taken care of. And I think you were at one of our most recent events.
Absolutely.
Where the topic was telemedicine and senior care. And there's really not a place that you can go out there and hear somebody talk about that for free. So it turned out to be a pretty good meeting.
Yeah, very good. Yeah, I was there. I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Definitely. All right. So now, what do you see in the future?
Well, what I see in the future, and what I'm a real advocate of is, as I'd said earlier, is thinking outside of the box. And I think what I want my clients, the service providers, and just people is not to accept what's out there for senior care. So many people say, oh, geez, I don't want to move to a nursing home or an assisted living. And what I say is that if that is the case, now is the time to start thinking about how you envision your life, living your life. If you couldn't drive anymore, or if you had difficulty getting up and down stairs, now is the time to start thinking about that. And there's just so many exciting opportunities out there. One that I'm involved with is called Reston for a Lifetime. I live in Reston, and myself and many of my Reston neighbors are coming together now to figure out how can we make this community better serve all ages, abilities, and income levels. And it's really exciting, some of the things that we're dreaming up and putting those in place.
That's good. That's very good. At the last event, you mentioned something that I remember. You say aging is something you can postpone.
It's something that you can't postpone.
You can postpone.
Yeah. One term that I use a lot, I have a blog called at everyoneisaging.com, because one odd thing in our culture is that we don't use the word aging correctly. Aging begins at birth. Okay,
True.
But in our culture, we say aging begins when you get your AARP card, when you can't get around as much, or when you get a senior discount. And so what's happened is that the term aging has a negative connotation. When what I want to help promote is that aging should be a positive. We should be proud when we get to the age of 80, because we've experienced more life and more interesting things than somebody who's 30, 40, or 16. And what our goal should be is to share that information, is to and to make it easy for young people to gain access to all this wisdom. It's sort of doesn't work out that way in our culture is that what we tend to do is maybe hide the elders away, behind a gated community or in a facility that doesn't necessarily have easy access for young people. And that's in my job as publisher of Sourcebook, but also in the Reston for a Lifetime movement, is what we're trying to do is break down those generational walls and connect old and young together.
Gotcha. Okay, very good. And how do you guys do that? It's not quite clear to me. Give me an example of how you do that, because you talk about them being, the young people being separate from the elderly. How do you bring them together?
Well, it's not only bringing them together, but it's bringing them together in a meaningful way. So I'll share with you an example of something that I did a couple of years ago with my children's school. I have two kids, they're 5 and 8. And what we did was, we had at my kids' school, we had a drum circle with the kids. Okay, so the kids learned how to drum, and we brought drums in, and they learned how to drum. And then at a local retirement community, the retirement community residents learned how to drum and create a drum circle. And then what we did was we brought both groups together at the community, and we had this intergenerational drum circle.
Gotcha.
And it was just a beautiful event, and it sort of showed that you can bring together the ages, and both can have benefits. At this event, one of the surprises was the kids got to meet a 100-year-old resident of this community who happened to have Alzheimer's disease. And most of the time you would think, well, what can somebody with dementia or Alzheimer's offer the community? Their mind is gone or what have you. Well, it was the coolest thing when we introduced them to this gentleman. The kids just lined up and started asking him questions. And this went on for 15 minutes, and they had a great time. And sometimes he could answer the questions in a very lucid way. Other times he would answer the question maybe with an odd answer, but the kids thought that was really funny, and they laughed, and he laughed, and it was just really great to sort of see how everybody has a purpose. And this gentleman had a great purpose, and many times when I see the kids who participated in that, they ask how he's doing.
Oh, wow. Interesting.
So, but we want to encourage meaningful connections and taking it beyond that to forming regularly scheduled relationships with the community. So that's one example.
Okay, good, excellent. That makes sense. I know in some culture overseas, in China, in Africa, what have you, that's very strong. Generally, the family lives together and has been a key part, I think, of the society over there.
We can learn a lot from those cultures. Is that those who are older in America should be revered, and we shouldn't try to hide the fact that we're growing older. We should celebrate it.
Should be embraced. I agree totally and completely. It's a fact of life.
Yeah.
It's a natural phenomenon.
Exactly.
There's nothing to be ashamed of. It happens. It's inevitable. I think the right way is to just take it in and make the most of it.
Exactly.
Yes.
Yeah.
Now, a question I have for you, to get back to the networking, how do you help those different professions that you bring together, or what was the result of getting those people together? It was all over the place, and you bringing them together.
Yeah, the first step was bringing them together, but another challenge is, how can you do this effectively? And what we found is that some professionals, they really benefited from getting together with their colleagues who are all serving seniors and doing this networking, but sometimes I would begin to get questions. It's sort of like, I don't feel like this is increasing my business. I don't feel like I'm making connections where I'm actually making money. I understand the benefits of this, and I'm meeting all these great folks. And what was really interesting is how we began to sort of help folks create a strategy for their networking. What we found is that a lot of people will go to a Chamber of Commerce mixer, or they'll go to one of our events, but they don't go in with a game plan in advance. And that is where we have helped a lot of our folks with one-on-one counseling is going into these meetings with focus. It's with a keen understanding of who my customers are, who I get referrals from, and who I can give referrals to. And just by sort of putting those three components on a 3x5 card and having it in your pocket and referring to it, it made a night and day difference for our clients.
Very good, excellent. That's good. And you guys have quite several events on your website. Exactly.
When you go to proaging.com, that's proaging.com, we have an events calendar on there with just dozens of networking events and events for seniors, events for families. If you're in the business of serving elders, which we all are going to be in sooner or later.
With the baby boomer growing.
Yeah. You.
Or maybe if you want to be smart, start serving the baby boomer.
Yeah, and get involved with our network, because it will really educate you to the opportunities that are out there. You'll be able to meet other folks like yourself who are in the business, and it's just a great way to make connections.
Very good. Soon here we're going to have Alain Dubois from the Senior Networking Luncheon also coming as one of our guests. What we're trying to do in this series precisely and exactly is, I'll say it so the audience knows about it, is I'm trying to bring the people. Robert Kiyosaki said, the rich or the successful people, and I add successful, looks for network. Everybody else is looking for work. That being said, this series, I mentioned Alan because I'm bringing over here to this program people who are, I would say, above the rich, because they create a space for the other to come and networking.
That's great.
Yes. I mean, you have Robert Kiyosaki rightly or wrongly say the employee, and then he say the rich. I say above that, you have what I call the space maker. They create a space for the rich, the employees, and everybody else to come and network. In my book, they are a cut above everybody else.
Yeah.
And you may wonder, why did I call you? But that's the reason I call you, because these are the people, the unsung heroes. These are the people nobody will talk about. But to be able to do that for 18 years, it takes God, patience, determination, like the President Coolidge says, unbelievable. The amount of barriers, difficulties, stops that you run into to create one, you can do one, but have it for years. That's what I invite you to celebrate this accomplishment, because it's major in my book.
Oh, thank you.
You're very welcome.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So now Alan's going to come, he's going to talk about their organization. Now, the question I would like to ask for you, I know at your seminar, last one, you invited a doctor to talk about telemedicine. Can you talk to us a bit about that?
Oh, the telemedicine, telehealth movement is phenomenal, and it's misunderstood as well, in that I think many of us sort of view telemedicine and telehealth as video cameras in the operating room and things of that nature, but it expands way beyond that. And the gentleman that we had speaking was Dr. Alan Dappin, with Doc Talker, which is a unique medical practice. But I think one of the neatest things that I discovered firsthand with to better understand telehealth and telemedicine was at a conference last year where a physician was talking about how much more effective he could be when he gives a physical if he had a monitor on each of his patients for the entire year. And he illustrated how the typical physical with with a typical doctor is this 5 to 15 minute consultation that's one-on-one, and all it's checking is your health status right now when you're sitting there in his office.
Gotcha.
And the technology is out there where our health could potentially be monitored by a wristwatch that is checking our blood pressure and checking our pulse and our general health and well-being through an entire year. And wouldn't it be much more effective for your doctor to take a few minutes to review your chart for the year, and now he is discussing with you what went on all year. And not only is it great for physicals, but it's great for things like monitoring sleep disorders. Many times we take somebody and we put them in this sleep lab when we've got the technology out there to monitor somebody's sleep in their bedroom with in their home where they're sleeping on a regular basis. It's real exciting, but there are challenges with telehealth and telemedicine, as you may know. It's just healthcare information. People get nervous. You got insurance companies, things like that. But pioneers like Dr. Alan Dappin are taking this and they're implementing it where it can be utilized. So there's not one prescription that says this is how you do telehealth, telemedicine. There's utilizing each of these new products and new approaches to make it happen.
Very good. No, it's very effective, and it's another approach. I've worked with him in the past and used his services, and I must say that it was very, very helpful.
Oh yeah.
And it's that much valuable because today sometimes try to get an appointment with a doctor.
Oh,
It's not just going to happen.
Dr. Dappin's practice is wonderful because he is the type of doctor that you can pick up the phone or you can write an email to once you are a patient of his. And what such an effective way to practice medicine. So.
It's definitely a modern way, or I believe it also goes back to the old way. We're talking about the old ways today, where the doctor or the family will come and see the patient and talk to him, and so that's very valuable.
Yes, no. And this is really what my passion is seeing these innovative approaches incubate and making sure that we are when possible, utilizing for our elders.
Definitely. Okay, so now we mentioned the beginning. So you started when you were 20 years, at 20 years of age, around there, and then today, 20 years later, you have this organization. What would you say is what changes do you see, or what changes have you seen? What is the major change that you've seen over the years, and how would this turn into maybe closer to the ideal scene that you have in mind?
Well, I think I look at a lot of the challenges that we have in our economy now as great opportunities for growth and to migrate us more towards a culture where, see, I think what's happened is that we've got this culture of independence where everybody takes care of their own self. And this is what our current senior serving world is taking advantage of, is that if your children can't take care of you, then I can go over here and have a paid service provider help me with these services. And what I want to see us move towards is a culture, move from a culture of independence to one of interdependence, where we are helping our neighbors more. And this is just a wonderful opportunity for us all to save money, to create more tight-knit communities, and then the existing service network that's out there can supplement this. When I don't have, on the day that I don't have a neighbor that could share a ride to Safeway to do grocery shopping together, maybe I can go and call a trusted service provider. And I think that's going to be a way for us to really not only benefit the elders, but benefit all the generations in our community, is moving towards that type of, that way of thinking.
Absolutely. I'm wondering how we're going to do that. By definition, I lived in Europe and I live in the United States, talking about different culture. In America, they say I. In Europe, they say we.
Yeah, and it's not going to happen overnight, but I think what I've seen with some of the economic challenges that we're facing is that it's accelerated this activity.
Gotcha.
And I think that that's going to be a benefit to all of us. But it won't happen overnight, but I'm seeing some indication that.
No doubt about
things
it.
are- yeah.
Get me right. I'm not saying the eye is bad.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
That's
no.
not what I'm saying. It definitely help America agreed with, but I think that a kind of like balance
Yeah.
and understanding what's taking place is what would be the ideal solution, I think.
I also think that one big challenge that we face is our dependence on the car here, especially in suburban communities, is that it doesn't matter who you are, but if your car connects you to your activities and your purpose and things of that nature, if you lose the ability to drive or you can't drive for whatever reason, it makes it difficult. And so one trend that